hier im Eck eine Übersetzung anbieten. Vielleicht die von euch, die Stühle brauchen, nehmt die doch direkt mit. So now we're going to have a lecture, and I guess some of you remember that this is the follow-up, part 2. We had a lecture on the 24th of December by Krishna Premarupa on the topic Jesus Christ and Krishna consciousness. And then he hinted that Christianity and Krishna consciousness would be a whole another topic. And so he agreed to give this class today. In Deutsch noch, für die, die sich noch erinnern mögen. Im Dezember hatten wir eine Vorlesung über das Thema Jesus Christus und Krishna-Bewusstsein. Und Krishna Premarupa Prabhu hat dann darüber gesprochen, dass es auch viel zu sagen gäbe über den Christentum in Verbindung mit dem Krishna-Bewusstsein. Und heute wird er darüber sprechen. So we'd like to welcome Krishna Premarupa Prabhu. Haribol! He will show a PowerPoint presentation. Er wird eine PowerPoint-Präsentation zeigen. And I'd just like to introduce Krishna Premarupa Prabhu briefly. I'm sure most of you know him very well. Krishna Premarupa Prabhu, he has been the temple president of this temple for 14 years. He joined Krishna consciousness around 2000, a little bit before that. Krishna Premarupa Prabhu war der Tempelpräsident von diesem Tempel für 14 Jahre und er kam in diesen Tempel um das Jahr 2000. Er ist ein Schüler von seiner Heiligkeit Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. He's a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar. And he currently is serving in the GBC team. Er dient im GBC-Team. He is the Zonal Supervisor of Switzerland. Er ist der, wie sagt man, Zonal Supervisor in der Schweiz. So thank you, Krishna Premarupa Prabhu, for taking the time. Danke, dass du die Zeit nimmst. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So yeah, thank you very much. So just first sing a song, which we usually sing to start before the speaking. And yeah, we have this topic today. I don't know how many of you are. Can I ask how many of you have a Christian background in some ways? Okay, so it's almost everyone. So, Hare Krishna. Oh, Rajavidya Prabhu is also with us. Actually, I should, you act. Rajavidya Prabhu is an expert on especially this topic also. Had many topics. And partially what I will tell is also based on his research. So, nice to have you with us. Okay, let's start with Jai Radha Madhava and then we will... Yes, dive into the topic. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Rachachanarandana Yashodanandana Rachachanarandana Yashodanandana Rachachanarandana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Om Jnanatimirandasya Kinanchana Chakshurun Militena Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Namavistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupamayam Dadati Swapadam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, Krishna consciousness and Christianity. Yes, Damodar Prasad Prabhu already mentioned. It was Christmas Eve, so I thought it's 24th of December, let's talk about Jesus Christ. And then we spoke about how Jesus actually is a Vaishnava, like a pure devotee of the Lord. And somehow devotees appreciated the class, and at the end there was a question, and I said, well, this question deals more with Christianity. I spoke about Jesus and Krishna consciousness, not about the church or the religion. And in this way the idea came, well, we could talk about this as well. So, therefore I was requested to talk about this topic, so let's see what we can do. We'll try to explore it. And maybe I could ask everyone to come a little closer, because there might be more people coming in. Yes. So the lecture on the Christmas Eve, we ended the talk with the following statement by Krishna Prabhupada, which is very, I would say, inclusive. If one loves Krishna, he must love Lord Jesus also. And if one perfectly loves Jesus, he must love Krishna too. If he says, why shall I love Krishna? I shall love Jesus. Then he has no knowledge. And if one says, why shall I love Jesus? I shall love Krishna. Then he has no knowledge either. If one understands Krishna, and then he will understand Jesus. If one understands Jesus, you will understand Krishna too. So it's a nice statement by which we kind of concluded the lecture about Jesus Christ and Christianity. Of course, when we now talk about Krishna consciousness and Christianity, there might be some topics that are not so, like we are not always in harmony with, we are always in harmony with what Jesus Christ said, what Jesus Christ did, we are in full harmony, but maybe not always what the church does or said. And therefore I was a bit hesitant, should I actually talk about this? Because who I am, and I also certainly I wanted to make sure, yeah, that's the difference. You know, we're talking about the person Jesus, or we're talking about a religion, an institution, or also certain beliefs. So when we do it today, I'll really like to do it just from a point of comparing, from analyzing, looking at, but not in a very, not in any way in a judgmental way. And in fact, there has been a long tradition of dialogue between Christianity and Vaishnavism. Actually, Prabhupada himself had a lot of interaction with different priests, with different monks and nuns. And although sometimes Prabhupada was quite strong with some points, in principle he always had a very, good and respectful interaction with all of these Christian representatives. And as we see here, Krishna or Christ, the name is the same. There even have been published, books were published about conversations between Prabhupada and priests and so on. And myself also, for almost 20 years, I've been engaged in a lot of interfaith and interreligious dialogues with Christians. So I have a lot of friends also amongst Christians, and I certainly do respect the Christianity a lot on a personal level as well. Yeah, we had a good time also. And it's interesting, also in our Shastra, there is a book written by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, it's called Sri Manashiksha, and there he advises that one should develop attachment to the spiritual master, attachment to the Vaishnavas, to those who love God. One should love everyone, especially those who also are believers. And he says, have attachment to the intermediate, the Madhyam devotees, of any genuine tradition, whether or not they reside in Braj, in body or mind. Braj is the holy Dham, the place where Krishna was born, and usually we say the Brijbasis, those who live in Vrindavan are the topmost devotees. Or all the devotees of the Lord who always remember Krishna, they are also Brijbasis. But here, this is a commentary by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, you should also love all those people who sincerely also follow another path, of another tradition. So that's just to kind of highlight that in our tradition, this is a very clear understanding that we do respect all forms of, especially theistic understandings, theistic forms of spirituality that we very much appreciate. So I thought to start with a quote from the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna speaks about his appearance in this world, and Srila Prabhupada gives an interesting purport to this shloka, where he also speaks about how religion is introduced in human society in different ways. Okay, this is Bhagavad Gita 4.7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyuktanam dharmasya tadatmanam shijamyam. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and the predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So Krishna makes the point that, yeah, I myself appear in this world if their religion is kind of decreasing, and if there needs to be again a balance, so I will appear. And Srila Prabhupada gives an interesting purport, and I will read part of it. The word Sri Jami is significant here. Sri Jami cannot be used in the sense of creation because according to the previous verse there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existence. Therefore, Sri Jami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. And then it's described that the Lord appears in different ways, different forms. And then Prabhupada says, Dharmam tu shakshat bhagavat pranitam, that these principles are clearly indicated through the Bhagavad Gita. Like, that it says that actually religion are the principles given by God. And then Prabhupada says, therefore each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scripture. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only in Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere and whenever he desires to appear. In each and in every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people and their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same: to lead people to God consciousness and to obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant, or himself in some disguised form. So Prabhupada makes the point that yes, Krishna appears in this world, but Krishna does not only appear in India, he appears in many places. Sometimes he comes himself, sometimes an expansion of him comes, and sometimes he also sends his son. And sometimes he sends a servant or a prophet. The principle of Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. So the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna in the Gita, Arjuna was a prince, a king, so he was very an educated person. But sometimes the Son of God or the prophet maybe speaks to people who are much more simple. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. So, in that sense, probably explains that sometimes the Lord or his representative, they reveal like a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and sometimes they just give whatever is necessary. And for example, Jesus Christ himself said, there is much more that I would like to tell you, that I can say, but you're not ready to receive or understand this knowledge. So that's also an important point to understand. Now, before we go into Christianity, Srila Prabhupada makes this statement here. First of all, try to understand what is religion. Then come to different types of religion. So before we look at what does this religion say, what does that religion say, it's good to get a clear picture of what actually religion is. Do you agree? That makes sense, no? So, what would you say? What is religion? If you just have to explain to someone who doesn't know, just in one sentence, what is religion? What would you say? Any suggestions? Yes?
Religion is the belief in God.
Religion is a belief in God, okay?
Connection with God.
It's a connection to God, okay?
Institutionalized faith.
Institutionalized faith, okay? That's interesting. Yes. There is something like faith, which is natural, but then it has become institutionalized, and then we call it religion, okay? Yeah, these are all good answers. Let's see what Srila Prabhupada has to say. Dhammattu Shakshat Bhagavat Pranitam, laws of God. Who will deny it? Any religion, Christian, Mohammedan, or any, who can deny that religion is the laws of God? Simple explanation. If you ask what is meant by religion, religion is laws of God. That's all. What it says. So basically the laws of the universe, you can also say. Like there is universal laws that are valid for everyone, and the religions are meant to present these laws and help people to understand them. Sometimes probably also would say religion means to understand God and to love God. That's religion. To understand and to love God. A few others. Religion means pious life. That is religion. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. That is religion. Religious life, pious life. Like someone who lives a pious life. That's also a definition. Or you may be Christian or Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist, it doesn't matter. The question is whether you follow God's instructions. That's what makes you religious. To understand who is God, to understand my relationship, to understand the laws, and then to follow. Now, I found this a helpful way to look at religion as well. Religion can be seen, and I got this from Govinda magazine, I think it was, from an essay by Ravindra Swarup Prabhu. It's an old essay, but it's still valid. So religion can be seen as a creed, like a confession, confessio. It's like a belief. That's maybe what you said. It's a belief. And so we have Hinduism, Judaism, Buddhism, Christianity, etc. And these are historically bound, and when we look at them, there are certainly differences. And usually, often we see that even there is wars taking place, and people fight and quarrel because of differences of religion. I'm Hindu, I'm Muslim, and I'm Christian, and so that's why we have some differences, and maybe even quarrel amongst each other. So that's a very like a first level of understanding. But when we look closer, religion can also be seen as a religio. From the word religio means like a path that leads to God. Religion describes different ways how to come to God, how to connect. We heard before, religion means to connect with God. So religion has the duty to teach how can we connect ourselves with God. And in any religion you find this, we would call it maybe the yoga ladder, karma jnana, yoga bhakti, different stages. But you will find in every religion people are, pious. They try to live a pious life. They perform karma, pious, ritualistic activities. Then there is the striving for liberation or jnana. There's knowledge, trying to understand the world. And then also there is devotion. Any religion knows devotion, some form of surrender or dedication to the divine. So this is already, and when we look at religion in this way, we can already see much more in common. We can, if you ask a Muslim what is the essence of your belief, they will say dedication and surrender to God. And if you ask a Christian or a Hindu, most probably it will sound quite similar. So we have something in common there. But then when we look at religion as the property of the soul or as the nature of the soul, then actually we talk about dharma. And there we talk about the constitutional position of the living entity, and this is eternal, and it's very individual also in the sense of every soul has a personal relationship to God, and that personal relationship with God, that is the original form of religion. Religion means to serve God, to be in connection with God. And therefore in Hindu tradition or in Vedic culture we speak of Sanatana Dharma. Because the word Hindu it's not actually a word that we find in Vedic scriptures. So Sanatana Dharma, the eternal Dharma, is actually what is the most probably the most universal way to look at religion. And probably we will also say in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita we find this: a person can profess a particular faith, but he can also change that faith and convert it to another. Sanatana Dharma, on the other hand, refers to any activity that can never be changed. Let's take my own example. I was born as a Christian, right? And actually I'm still Christian on the paper. I never exited the Catholic Church or something. But then also, as a young spiritual seeker, I came in touch with Buddhism, and I practiced Buddhism for a couple of years. And if someone would ask me, I would say, yes, I'm a Buddhism. And if you ask me today, well, I've been practicing this Hare Krishna tradition, Gaudiya Vaishnava since more than 20 years. So I'm a Vaishnava. So what happened here? I changed my belief already twice. Who knows what happened in the future? But so religion can change. You can change your belief. But dharma, the word dharma, means something you cannot change. It is it's your nature. It's something natural. And Srila Prabhupada would give several analogies. One is fire. Fire means, the nature of fire is it gives light and heat. Right? That's the dharma or nature of fire. You can't separate heat and light from fire. If there is no heat and no light, you don't call it fire. And chili, what is the nature of chili? It's hot, it's spicy, right? So if you have a chili that is not spicy, what kind of chili is it? Or sugar, sugar is sweet, that's the nature of sugar, it's sweet. Or water, the nature of water is liquid. Of course, when it becomes very cold and it freezes and then it becomes ice. But still, the natural, the nature of water is liquid. So similarly, then the question comes, what is the dharma of the soul? What is the nature of the living entity? And that's Prabhupada answers this question as it's service. We all serve. It's our natural tendency to actually be engaged in some service. And in this world, we may serve our family, our husband, our wives, and children. We serve in a job, the boss. We serve maybe our nation. But ultimately, we are actually meant to serve God. That's our constitutional, original identity, to serve. Like, if you see God as a whole, we are as parts, we are meant to serve the whole. And that's called religion. So the eternal religion of the living being consists in rendering service. This is what the Prophet says. And then also God is one, and God does not belong to this or that religion. In Kali Yuga, different religious sects consider that God to be different from God of others, but that is not possible. God is one. And that's an interesting point, what do you think? Is God a Christian? Or is God maybe a Muslim? Allah is a Muslim, and Jehovah is a Christian. I mean, God is not limited to the belief systems that we have created in this world, but God is God, and He's certainly not limited by any of these designations. I probably used to give the example of the sun. Like here in Switzerland, we say Sonne or Sonneli. And in French they may say, in France they say le soleil. And then you have in England to say the sun, and in India it is Surya. But I mean, is there an Indian sun and an English sun and a Swiss sun? No, it's the same sun. But we have given different names according to our culture, our ideas. So similarly, God is one, and we may have given different, interpretation, different ways to look at that supreme Lord. So I think that's a good example that the Prophet gives us to help understand this point. And we have also, there's something you can learn from a dog. I think his own Radhanath Maharaj gives that example. A dog will recognize his master always. No? Sometimes the dog will see his master coming home from the office in suit and tie, and the dog will recognize, oh, here is my master, woof, woof, woof. Sometimes the dog will see his master maybe in the shorts, he's maybe going for jogging, or sometimes the master maybe is in his underwear in the living room or something, but the dog always recognizes his master, regardless of how the master is dressed. So, if the Lord, if our master appears in different dress, meaning in different forms, in a form of different religion, and we are not able to recognize our same master in different dresses of different religions, then we have still a lot to learn from the dog, isn't it? Because whether the Lord appears in a Christian form or in a Jewish or in whatever way the Lord is manifested, we should recognize Him as the same Lord that we also love and worship. So that's the lesson of the dog. And okay, that was a long introduction, but I just wanted to set the right spirit when we now compare the religion, because it's, yeah. So also, the last thing, ISKCON has an official, ISKCON an interfaith brochure with an official statement, and there one of the statements is, no individual or organization has a monopoly on the Lord. Like no one can claim that we have the absolute truth and everyone else doesn't know anything, or God is our God, and no one has that monopoly. And that's what we also strongly believe in the Hare Krishna movement also. Of course, that doesn't mean that, I mean, in some way, whoever practices a certain belief, they will be convinced that their religion is the best. And that's also okay. Like, I just mentioned I was Christian, that I was Buddhist, now I'm Gaudiya Vaishnava. Why I'm now a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga? Because I came to the conclusion that's the best path that I found. So, and if someone is a Christian and is convinced Christianity is the best thing, then that's fine for that person. But we shouldn't kind of then say that others are less or can't find the truth in their tradition as well. Okay, so now that was all about unity and so on. Now let's look at the differences. Of course, so now one of the first points, and I won't go too much into details because, there have many books written on the topic, vegetarianism, but that's one of the important points Prabhupada always stressed. Whenever Prabhupada met with Christian priests and monks, he would always point out, in the Bible it says, thou shalt not kill, why do you kill animals? Why do you eat meat? And Prabhupada always emphasized this point, always. You can see in all the conversations. Prabhupada emphasized this point a lot. And in our tradition, we understand that we speak of the samadarshinaha, that the wise, he has an equal vision. He sees an elephant, a cow, a dog eater, or like a person who is not very cultured. He sees everyone with an equal eye, meaning that although they have different bodies, like an elephant has a different body than a dog, and as a man or a woman, but inside that body there is a spiritual soul, and there is also the super soul, the Lord, and therefore we have an equal vision. We treat everyone equally, we respect everyone in a similar way. And of course we also understand and believe in karma, that whatever we do, it will have a reaction to us. So I remember once there was a book published on Was ist Religion? With 2 S. So what is religion, but what does religion eat? It was an interreligious project. It was an interreligious cooking book, like with recipes of different religions. It was quite a nice project, and I was requested to write like a short text on the understanding of eating and food in the religion of Hinduism or the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. And then there was a vernissage of this book, and I also gave a little talk, and I made the point that, with the understanding of karma and reincarnation, if in the next life I can become a cow myself, then I will be happy if my neighbors are vegetarians. Like that's just a, if I believe in karma and reincarnation, I know that I as a soul can also incarnate in an animal body, and then I'm so how can I kill an animal and eat it, because I know that the equally valid soul is in that body, and I don't have a right to kill someone just to eat their flesh, especially that God has given us grains and fruits and vegetables. So as I said, we don't go into detail, but that's an important point that Prabhupada often highlighted in the dialogue with Christians here in Germany with the Pater Emanuel. And one interesting thing is here, there is a statement here from the Complete Hebrew-English Dictionary. The exact Hebrew wording of this biblical phrase is lo tirtzach, the phrase that thou shalt not kill. One of the greatest scholars of Hebrew-English linguistics, Dr. Ruben Al-Kalya, has written this huge book, and he has there given the translation that tirtzach refers to any kind of killing whatsoever, and lo means thou shalt not. Because that's often argued, like, well, when it says thou shalt not kill, it means murder. But yeah, I mean, of course, I guess you could argue about that, and I'm not a scholar, and there might be different ways to look at it. But usually Prabhupada would emphasize this point, that when it says one should not kill, one should understand it means any kind of violence, any kind of killing. So that's one thing that certainly is different from the Vedic understanding and Christianity as a religion, the vegetarianism. Another thing is reincarnation. While we believe in reincarnation, in Christianity it often is said that you have only one life and that's it. And if someone is interested in this topic, I mean, as I said, the author of this book is with us. I don't know if there was a book, quite an extensive study on reincarnation written. I think nowadays we have just a smaller version still available. Yeah? Like there is in the Govinda Verlag, there's a smaller version. It also very brilliant, gives a very good insight into the laws of reincarnation. And in this was the first, or the older version, which was more extensive. There is a whole chapter on how actually reincarnation has always been part of the understanding and belief and thinking and culture of humanity in all times, in all places in the world. You find it in any tradition. It's kind of, when we speak of reincarnation, we often think, oh, reincarnation is something Asian, the Buddhists and the Hindus believe in that. But that's not. But that's actually not true. We always have. It was always there in some forms, in some ways. And there's many. If you look, and there's also been different studies you can also find in this book, that there's many, hints where it shows, even in the Bible you find hints that there could have been some that people had an understanding of reincarnation even during the time of Jesus Christ. But over the time, that knowledge was lost, or not only lost, but purposefully removed from the original understanding and texts of Christianity. And this is a point that Prabhupada often also stressed. Religion without philosophy is sentiment, or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. They must be combined together, then it is perfect. Religion must be based on philosophy and logic. That is first-class religion. So religion, it needs to make sense also. You can't just believe things, it also needs to make some kind of sense. And as we said before, I'm not sure what Jesus Christ would say about some of the beliefs that Christianity promotes today. Because we have to differentiate between the original teaching of Christ and then also what church dogma, some of the dogmas, some of the teachings that the church nowadays promotes. And we will have a look at some of them. And we also know from history, actually Paulus, he was the one who stressed some of the principles very much. And we don't find them in the Jesus words, but he kind of created some understanding which then later on was more emphasized. And over the centuries also, we also need to understand that Christianity was also kind of the Roman Empire. It was also a political issue. Sometimes some rulers, they had more power over the church than actually the religious leaders. And they also influenced and changed some of the original understanding. So some of the dogmas that we know is the creation of the soul by God at the moment of the creation of the physical body out of nothing. That's the creationism. Then the original sin, mortal sin, the last judgment, eternal damnation in hell, the function of grace of the official church, and the doctrine of predestination. These are some of the teachings of the church, which, when we from the Vedic perspective, we might not agree with everything. So let's look at the first. And this basically, this teaching says that because the question is, as we said, reincarnation was kind of removed, and then instead of reincarnation, there needs to be a different understanding of how things go. So one is that the soul is created by God at a time of conception, when a man and woman come together and they unite, and then a child is conceived, or like it's a time of conception. Then God creates a soul, and that soul enters the body. And it comes from the ex nihilo. It comes from nothing. It just comes out. God just creates it at that moment. You know? And that has been the official teaching of the church since the Middle Age. And in some way, it's obvious that I mean, there's different problems with this understanding. It means that whenever a child is born or conceived, even if it's unwillingly or just happened, and even if a child dies, even in the womb, God creates a soul for that. It's kind of okay. And then also another problem is that when we speak of eternity, just from a philosophical point of view, maybe I ask you, what does eternity mean? Because in Vedas it says the soul is eternal. What do we understand with eternity?
No beginning, no end.
No beginning, no end. Right. Sometimes we think eternity means a very long time. No, eternal, very long time. No, it's not a very long time. It means there's no beginning and there's no end. And of course, it's very difficult for us to grasp because we are living in this world of space and time, and everything has a beginning and has an end in this world. But the soul, which is transcendental, comes from a place which is eternal, and there is no beginning. That means the soul was never created. So, of course, it's kind of mind-blowing, but to say that God creates a soul just when there's a child conceived, that's also kind of doesn't really make so much sense. And Krishna says in Gita, That never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So this is directly in contradiction to that dogma. Krishna says that we always have existed. And then also, this is from the second chapter of the Gita. For the soul there is neither birth nor death. There's no birth for the soul. At any time, he has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So there is this clear distinction is given. Yeah, we understand there is this eternal soul that lives in a material body, and then while the body changes, the soul always remains the same. And when the body falls apart, becomes old and dies, then the soul takes a new body, which is our understanding of reincarnation. Then the original sin is another, in some way problematic understanding that Adam and Eve, they did some mistake, and then they caused this original sin, and whoever gets a human body will also be, has the same sin. So God creates a brand new soul out of nothing, and puts that new soul into a body which is full of sin. Also problematic. But in some way, that it's not completely wrong in our understanding, because in the Vedic understanding, whoever is in this material world, whoever has a material body, is a sinner in some way also, in the sense that this world sometimes is compared to Durga, to a prison house. The material world is compared to a prison house. Who lives in a prison? Criminals. Those who did something wrong. Those who went against the laws. Then they have to go to the prison house. So in that similar way, the material world is compared to a place for those living entities who wanted to live in a separation of God. There is the eternal kingdom of God, where the living entities live together in harmony with God, and those who wanted to have an experience of being separated from God, then they come into this world. And another way, it's explained in Gita also, it's described the banyan tree, or we have here a picture of a tree and a reflection. That the material world is like a reflection of the original spiritual world. Like the tree exists, the tree is there, but in the water we see the reflection of the tree, which is, it's not the original thing, it's just a reflection. So similarly, this world we're living in, it's not the original world, it's a reflection. And it's meant as a place for us to again learn love to God and go back to God. Of course, in the Vedic understanding, luckily we have many lifetimes to do that. Okay, so we have many. We can try it again and again. So every life is meant as a new chance for us to connect and establish our relationship with God. And when we fail, we just get reborn and we get another chance. But in Christianity, it looks a little different, because there's only one life, and after that one life, you either go to hell or to heaven. That's it. And for me, as I said, I'm a born Christian. I raised in Christianity, and as a boy, I served in the church as a servant of the priest. And the priest even said to my mother, "One of your two boys will become a priest." I'm quite sure about it. He was right, but I think he didn't expect orange robe. So I still today I feel very much connected to, certainly to Jesus Christ, and also to church, to Christianity to some degree. But this always I felt this is very hard. Like you have one life, and after one life, either heaven or hell. And then also interesting, and then also the predestination. It's another concept that, well, God already knew how people will act and live their lives, so it's already predestined. Some will go to hell and some will go to heaven. That's another. But if that's the fact, then why do I have to have moral and ethic? Why should I follow any religious scriptures? Because anyway, it's already destined that I go to heaven or hell. Why should I endeavor for anything? Also doesn't make so much sense. So in Vedic understanding, heaven and hell, it's a reality. We do have there are planets, like heavenly planets, and there is hellish planets. I mean, this would be a separate lecture. But there is a whole planetary system. You see that you are here. Can you see that? There is a sign. You are here. Planet Earth, right? We are there. And then there is the upper planetary system and the lower planetary system. And that's just one universe. There is many unlimited such universes coming from Lord, from Mahavishnu. And we have there Batala on the bottom down. There is the hellish planets. So yes, according to our karma, our activity, and our desires that we according to the activities that we perform in this life, we may go up to some heavenly planets and enjoy a beautiful life, or we may go down and we may have to suffer some punishment. But that's not forever. That's the big difference, and that also would be very much in contradiction to a loving God who loves everyone. How can God send someone forever to hell, especially if the poor guy only had one chance, so one life, and then you go to hell? And it even was predestined by God. He already knew that you will be a bad guy. It doesn't really make so much sense. So, and also the other thing is that when we speak of this heaven and hell, that's still part of the material world. It's nothing transcendental. It's nothing spiritual in that sense. But in Vedic cosmology, we speak of the Vaikuntha planet, so the spiritual world. So that beyond the material world, beyond that duality, there is a spiritual realm. There is a spiritual planets. And there is the Vaikuntha Lokas. Loka means a planet, and the Vaikuntha are the place without anxiety, the spiritual world. And interesting, Prabhupada did make a comment. He said that, because he was asked, did Jesus Christ return back in the spiritual world? And Prabhupada said, yes, Christ Loka, why not? Christ can have his own planet, his own spiritual planet. Prabhupada said that there can be Christ Loka. There can be a spiritual place where Jesus resides eternally. Why not? But still we need to understand there's a difference between heaven and the spiritual, the home where we actually eternally reside with God. There's a difference. And many Christians don't get that small detail. It's not about just going to heaven. It's about going back to God in an eternal loving relationship. And of course predestination, that's another whole topic. But we understand that the free will and destiny is it's a combination. So certain things are destined, but within that we have a free will also. Like myself, in 2 weeks I will enter an airplane and I will fly to Kolkata. I'm already looking forward to spend a couple of weeks in India. So once I boarded the airplane, I will arrive in Kolkata. No, that's my destiny. That's kind of predestined. Of course, unless someone, some terrorists come and, but usually the plane will arrive in Kolkata. But then what I do during this, couple of hours flight, that's my free will. I can either just watch some Hollywood movies on the screen, of course, which I never do as a monk. Or I can start a nice conversation with the person next to me, or I can write or read something. So that's my free will. But it's limited. I have to, during these hours I will be in the plane. I can't do anything else. So similarly, some circumstances are predestined, but then within that we have free will. Of course, and our time is running out. One other claim is the absoluteness, that Jesus is the only way, and especially those who have tried to share Krishna consciousness. But so many times, I had very nice conversation with people, and at the end of the conversation, once I remember one lady, I showed her the temple, explained about Krishna consciousness. At the end, when she lectures, but at the end of the day, Jesus is the only way. was like, okay, thank you. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. That's kind of a statement which is attributed to Jesus, that he said this. And in some way, also here, we have this explanation that the Greek word actually means it's in the present time. It's very much it's a form of very present form. It means, of course, now no one else comes to the Father than me because I'm the guru now here. No. And Prabhupada spoke about this. Of course, Jesus says that you can only come to the Father than through me because that's the guru principle. So we call this the. Yeah, Prabhupada says that Jesus was a guru. We spoke about this last time, and this basically refers to the Guru Tattva. Here we see Narada Muni. That's an arrangement by the Lord that we can't directly get in touch with the Lord, but by his representative, the spiritual master. The spiritual master will help us to connect with God. And Jesus is such a personality. He's not an ordinary person, and this is an interesting picture. Probably would also say, Lord Jesus was Jiva Tattva. Jiva Tattva means he's a living entity. He's not Vishnu Tattva, he's not God in that sense. When a Jiva Tattva becomes specifically empowered by the Lord, he is called Shakti Avesh Avatar. Lord Buddha and Lord Jesus Christ were in this group of Shakti Avesh Avatars, but they were not in conditioned state when they appeared. They came to teach here. So we spoke about that principle last time, that Shakti Avesh. Shakti means power and Avesh means someone who carries. It means someone who carries the empowerment of God. So yes, in that sense, he's not different from God because he's fully empowered by God. And that's also called avatar. So Jesus certainly belongs in that category. And our time is... Oops. Why do you see the screen? Usually... let me see.
What is purgatory?
What is eternal hell, as I understand. And of course we have, our time is up, and I won't give a second presentation, or a third presentation on this topic. Let me... Let me conclude with this one. But somehow my computer's frozen. So let's summarize. In the beginning I spoke about how Prabhupada explained the definition of religion, what religion means. Religion means to know God, to love God. And also we spoke about the different ways how we look at religion, even as just a belief, or as a path, or as the nature of the soul. And in this way we can see that when we look at as dharma, as a nature of the soul, to love God, then we can see that there's many things that we also have in common with the teachings of Jesus Christ. That's why Prabhupada said that actually Christianity is also a form of Vaishnavism. Prabhupada went so far, he said that Christianity is a form of Vaishnavism. It's also a form of Bhakti Yoga, Prabhupada said. It's also a form of loving God. And so that way, actually, we are very close to Christianity. And Prabhupada often recognized that we have a lot in common. But then when religion is developed, or over the centuries, religion is kind of adjusted, and these dogmas have been created, then some of the philosophical concepts or dogmas we cannot really agree with, because they're just different from a Vedic perspective. But the good thing is, in the essence, actually, there's a lot of common. These things might be different, there's differences, but the essence, actually, we have a lot in common. There are a couple of other things that we could have talked about, and I'm sure this, even if we have gone through all the slides, this presentation is certainly not complete. There's many other things we could say. And we end with this statement, if it's allowed. Okay. See. So Christ says he is Son of God, and Krishna says, I am God. So where is the difference? The Son will say the same thing. His servant will say the same thing, and the Father also will say the same thing. So theology means to know God and to abide by His order. So probably often make the point. So there is no problem. No, Jesus says I'm Son of God, and Krishna says I'm God. So there is no, conflict here. There's no problem with that. And I'm sure if Jesus and Krishna would meet today, in today's world, I'm sure they would be friends, right? Or they would be son and father, or certainly they would have a friendly relationship. Because in the essence, they both teach the same, that devotion or bhakti is, and that's maybe the essence we can conclude. If you want to know God, you need to love Him. It's through love, it's through bhakti that you can learn about God and love God. And in the Krishna temple, in Krishna consciousness, we try to do this by chanting the holy names, performing devotional service. And that's also the test. Prabhupada said the test of religion is how much the religion can help you to love God. And in this way, whatever religion you practice, if you develop more and more love of God, then that's what is wanted. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Pranande Hari.
Krishna Premarupa ki jai.
Yeah, our time is up. I'm sure there could be question and answers or things, but maybe we can officially stop here, and then those who still like to talk to me, I'm still here, so we can approach me and talk between.
Thank you so much, Krishna Premarupa Prabhu. Now we wish you a good journey to India. May the plane arrive safely in Calcutta.
Yes.
And now there is a prasadam, vegetarian feast outside. All of you are invited. Please take part. And then 6:15 we will continue with our program. Like Krishna Premarupa Prabhu said, we try to teach how to love God. And at 6:15, if you like to learn how to chant on prayer beads, there is a chance. For 45 minutes somebody will show you how to do that. And then at 7 o'clock we have a arati, means a ceremony of we worship the deities, we sing, and this will go on till 9:30. So thank you so much for coming. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.